Hi, back again. So, basically, next week I have two exams. They're both Japanese exams. One is a speaking exam and one is a writing exam. So I'm not really doing anything for the next week or so. So I thought I'd just talk about how I study for exams because, it's kind of hard and I hate studying. So this is actually a form of procrastination, but there we go. So firstly, the really big thing about learning Japanese is kanji. So every week, both at this uni in Japan and the one back in England, we have a kanji test. So right now the kanji book that we're using is this one, and we use the Mina no Nihongo textbooks a lot during the first semester, and basically it's kind of like this. So they have a list of the words here, and then an example sentence of how you use them, and then right here it shows you how to draw all of them. Kanji has a specific way that you're supposed to draw it. When you learn new kanji, you have to learn the way you draw it. So which stroke goes first. Generally you draw it from the top left to the bottom right, but yeah, sometimes there's a lot of parts. This book also does have these little activities and exercises you can do, but as you can see I haven't actually done these, and that's because I don't find them that useful for learning new kanji. So I leave them for later and then I use them for revision. But what I do to initially learn kanji is this, and this is my kanji learning notebook. So basically you can see I have quite a lot in here. It's pretty full up, but so basically what I do is I write them out here like this. So I'll write out the kanji, the pronunciation, and then the English meaning, and then I'll write it out about 3 times, sometimes more if it's particularly a difficult kanji that I'm struggling to memorize. But with most of these, I've read them a lot before, so I recognize them. So I only need to write it out about 3 times. And then over here you'll see what I do. So I actually make a little test for myself. So I take all of these kanji that I've just written out, and then I write the English, and then I make sure I can't see any of the ones I've just written out, and I will try to write down the pronunciation and the kanji, and then obviously I'll mark it and see here I got this one wrong. So then I will write it out again, and then I'll do the test again just to make sure that I have got it. And I'll basically I'll do the test 3 or 4 times. If it's really easy ones, then I'll probably only do it 3 times, but I make sure I have a gap in between. So normally I write them out and then immediately I will do a test, and then I will wait sort of an hour or 2, it really depends, and then I'll do another test, and then I will probably wait until the next day, and in the morning as soon as I wake up I do another test. If I get something wrong on that test, then I'll do another one, but generally I get it all right. So yeah, for me this is the best way to learn. I learn so much better from doing tests than I do from just, I don't know, just writing it out or reading it and trying to remember. For me, testing is like the best way to learn. So yeah, I would recommend trying that if you're struggling with kanji. But honestly, I think with something like kanji, it's something that you either struggle with or you don't. Luckily, I seem to pick it up quite quickly, so I guess I'm really lucky with that. In terms of textbooks, we use these two. So this is the Mina no Nihongo, and this one is the new one that we started in semester 2, and this one is actually quite a bit harder because it doesn't have the English really. Like with the grammar points, this is it has one sentence of English, so if you don't understand it from that, then well, you have to go look it up in your own time because that's all you're getting. And yeah, again, it has lots of these exercises which we actually tend to do in class all together, or like these sakubun, they'll be given to us for homework. And I actually don't like writing in the books because, again, I like to save these for practice instead of using them for learning. So when I'm learning, I will generally write them in my notebook like this. And yeah, as you can see, I have a lot just written out. Yeah, so I tend to write stuff in my notebook so that I can use the exercise in the textbook for revision. Now, how I revise grammar is actually like this. So at the back of this notebook, I arrange my grammar in specific ways that it's formed. So like for these use the plain form of the verb and the noun and the adjective or whatever. So all of these use plain forms. So you've got ndes, shi, toki, tsumari, tsumori desu, yote desu, desho. So then they all use the plain form, so they're all together. And then I put together all the ones that use te form, and then all the ones that use ta form, all the ones that use passive verbs, like, you know, I tend to just arrange it in sections because then it's easier for me to remember, like, okay, which section was this particular grammar point in? Because then when you conjugate the verb, you're like, okay, well, I want to use hogai desu, so it was in the ta form section, so I have to make the verb ta form, you know? So yeah, for me, that's like the easiest way to learn grammar and keep it in there, because I tend to get really like confused later on. So when I'm actually learning the grammar point, I'm like, oh yeah, this is easy, whatever. And then like a few weeks later, when I try to use it after not having used it for a few weeks, I'll be like, oh wait, was it te form, was it ta form, was it mas form? Like it all sort of blurs together. So arranging it in like sections like that tends to help me. And then our actual exam, it's very similar to the summaries that the book gives us. So I have one here, and this section, I don't know about anyone else, this section really messes me up. I don't understand, like, it's just particles, but the thing is, when I put in particles myself, like when I make a sentence just by myself, the particles are generally fine. Like, I'm quite good at particles for my own sentences, and I think it's because I know the meaning I'm trying to convey, so I can do the particles fine when I know the meaning that I'm trying to get across. But I feel like a lot of Japanese sentences, they're based on context, so then I get a bit like, I'm not too sure what the meaning they're trying to convey is. But also, when there's a gap in the sentence for a particle, I just forget every single thing I've ever learned. And I'm just like, I don't know. So I just take a guess. And it's generally wrong. So I hate that section on exams. But then we have stuff like you pick the correct word to go in the gap, like they give you options, you just have to pick one. And then these are like conjugations. It's like I was showing you the grammar practice I do, that's what you need here to conjugate the verbs. And then, this. Anyone who has ever done Japanese or language where you have polite forms, this is keigo. It's sonkeigo and kenjogo. And basically sonkeigo is where you raise the person you're speaking to above you. So you're like looking up to them being like, I respect you because you're above me. And then kenjogo is when you lower yourself so that you're like, oh, I respect you because I'm below you. It's really weird, but yeah. You use kenjogo when you're talking about yourself, and then you use sonkeigo when you're talking about someone above you, basically. But it's just, it's so frustrating because, like, especially because we don't really have something like that in English, it's like, it's difficult to learn. Because in English, I feel like a lot of formal or polite language, it's the same words we use, we just say it differently. And obviously we have like casual language like slang and whatever, but it's very different to Japanese types of language. So yeah, I'd say keigo is one that's a bit of a struggle to be honest. And then this last section here, it was sort of like conjugation again, but like the conjugation's done, you need to add the grammar point. And this one was yo so hazu tokoro. But the thing is, some of it makes sense in English. Like all of the grammar points could make sense with that sentence in English, but in Japanese they don't necessarily make sense. And it's so confusing when something makes sense in your language, but then when you try and directly translate it, it's not right. It's so, like, I can't really describe it, but it's really difficult to get around, I find. So yeah, that's I don't really have any tips on how to learn that, to be honest. You just have to keep going. But yeah, I like doing these sorts of things because obviously they're like tests and then I can get better, and I like to sort of point out anything I get wrong, and then I will go back through the textbooks and I'll look for the lesson that we had on that, and then I can write out more grammar points and I can find the exercises from the books and redo those. So yeah. Also, this is something that I'm terrible at, but vocabulary is a big thing and I'm really bad at it. But if you know the website Quizlet, it's this. So basically I like finding these Mina no Nihongo ones because that's the textbook we used. So basically some people upload like these packs, I guess. They've basically written out the English and the Japanese, and then you can do a little quiz. So for example, I'll show you, because these are like, this is a really useful website for me. So you can have flashcards and you can like go through the flashcards and have a look at these, or you can do learn, and then it'll give you like different types of quizzes like this. So you can do that, and then if you get it wrong like that, it tells you. So then it will repeat it for you. So yeah, I'd say that's really helpful. And then at the end you can do a little test. So it gives you different types of questions as well. So it's got this, and then a little multiple choice matching, and more multiple choice, true, false, yeah, and then it'll mark you out of 10. So I really recommend that for helping you to learn vocab. And you know, you can find quizzes and flashcards in like any language, I'm pretty sure, on this website, because it's just people who do it. So yeah, it's also free, so you know, why not give it a go. But yeah, I'm gonna try to study for my exams now, and then yeah, I'll let you know how it goes next week. See ya!